This is a video about removing the turbocharger from a 2001 Ford Powerstroke 7.3 liter. I've already removed the turbocharger, but I'm going to go over some of the things I did, some of the problems I ran into, and maybe some of the things that might help you with removing your turbo. First thing, over here, we removed the air intake tube that runs up to the air box. We removed that. And that left us with this piece right here for the crankcase ventilation. And these two bolts were removed right here on this bracket. Okay, the next thing that was removed is the tube that goes into the turbocharger. The thing I did was remove the tube that comes into the turbocharger right here that fits back into the back. Alright, after I did that, the next thing I did was remove some of the hoses that were tied in with the air intake tube, and then I also removed this sensor off of the front of the H pipe, and then I also removed this wire, and also coming from the relay for the heater that comes into the H pipe as well. Removed all that wiring. Next thing I did, I had to work with getting the bolts on the pedestal loose. Okay. Alright, on the turbocharger, it sits in the truck essentially like this right here. That's how it's sitting in your truck. You have two bolts right up here in the front that have to be removed to take the pedestal off, and then two bolts back here in the rear. Okay? All four of those bolts are 10mm bolts, and the way I found, I did forget, I also removed the cover that's right up here in the front that's on the reservoir for the high pressure oil pump. I did on this pedestal, the one item that helped tremendously getting these, the two front bolts are quite easy. The two rear bolts are very hard because of the EP valve that's on the rear of the pedestal. But I was able to get all four of these bolts out with a 10mm socket utilizing this 3/8" swivel, and basically just working underneath the turbo toward the back. Okay, once I got all four of those 10mm bolts removed, I also had to remove all the collars back here on the up pipe. I had to remove that, and basically those are just clamps, and then I also had to remove the clamp on the main exhaust pipe going out of the turbocharger. This one was a little easier than one on the exhaust pipe because I had previously installed a larger exhaust, so that one came off quite easily. It took a little bit of persuasion with a straight blade screwdriver. This one on the rear was quite difficult. I sprayed some penetrating oil on the collar back here as well, and that also helped kind of loosen that along with prying. Eventually that did come loose, and this one also. After that was all removed, I had the turbocharger loose from here and all the pedestal bolts. I also had it loose from the up pipes, and then I also, this exhaust outlet was still on here. I had the exhaust pipe removed as well. The turbocharger was essentially loose. Okay, the problem that I ran into was with these bolts right here. They're two 13mm bolts, approximately 3 inches long, and they were really super tight. I tried using a small breaker bar, but I really couldn't get any leverage. I tried using an impact wrench, basically nothing. So what I ended up having to do is I ended up coming over here. Well, first thing I did is I took off the clip on the wastegate over here. I took that off so the wastegate was free, and then I came over here to our the compressor side, and I removed these 5 bolts that hold the housing on. Once I removed those, I had this removed. I was able to lift this housing off, and then with this out of the way, I was able to lift the whole assembly out of the car, out of the truck, because otherwise with this in the way there was no room to pull it up over the engine valley and out of the truck. So once I got it out of the truck, the only thing I continued to try with the impact wrench and with a breaker bar on both of these with no success. I'd left penetrating oil on them overnight. What I ended up doing, I took a small propane torch, I heated up each bolt in this section here, and after I did that, I hit it with the impact wrench with a 13mm socket, and they all came right out. I'm going to go ahead and replace these bolts because the head of this one is a bit rounded. This one actually fared better, this bolt, but I'm still going to replace both. This one did better, but it's still a bit rounded. So those are going to get replaced. Once I had those removed, then I was able to just take the whole turbocharger off the pedestal, and then that also revealed the O-rings. I've removed one of them. The O-rings on the top part of the pedestal, and the O-rings on the bottom of the pedestal are still in the block. I'll go ahead and replace those whenever I replace this pedestal. I've ordered some new parts. I'm going to replace this pedestal with a non-EBV valve on here, and I've also ordered an exhaust outlet that also has this valve removed, and it's just a smooth surface, so it'll flow a little better. About the only thing I can say is possibly if I would have heated these bolts in the truck before I removed it, I might have been able to break those loose. And upon reinstalling the turbo into the truck, I'm probably going to go ahead and install the pedestal, or at least loosely put it in place, and then set the turbo into the truck after I get the pedestal installed. And basically that's all I can think of on the removal video. These bolts that were on the exhaust outlet, they came out quite easily. I put a little bit of penetrating oil on them. I was a little concerned with them being so corroded, but some penetrating oil on that overnight, they came out easily, no problem. And that's about it. Thanks.